There is a particular kind of tired that comes from a home that is just too full. The cupboard where things fall out when you open it. The bathroom shelf with 3 half-used bottles of the same conditioner. The bulk buy that seemed clever at the time, but is now just taking up space you do not have. And somehow, despite all of it, you are still spending more than you mean to. Swedes have a word for the opposite of all that. Lagom. It means just the right amount. Not too much, not too little. And it is not a trend or a capsule wardrobe challenge. It is just how a lot of Scandinavians quietly move through the world. And one of the things they say to their kids, a saying that gets passed down like a piece of family wisdom, genuinely flipped how I think about spending. We will get to that. Let us start at number 1. Number 1 is the enough test. Before you buy something, you ask yourself one question. Do I already have something that does this job? That is it. That is the whole rule. But it is surprisingly effective because so much of what we buy is not filling a gap. It is filling a feeling. You already have a tote bag that works perfectly well, but this one has a better zipper and a nice color. You have a cutting board, but a wooden one would look better. None of these are wrong purchases exactly. They just add up to a home full of things doing the same job in slightly different ways. The enough test stops you before the decision, not after the checkout. It is a gentle pause, not a restriction. And when you start asking it consistently, you will be surprised how often the answer is, yes, I already have this. The thing you need is already in a drawer somewhere. Number 2 is lagom stock. Scandinavians tend to find the idea of bulk buying a little baffling, and I mean that genuinely, not as a judgment. The logic there is different. You buy what you will honestly go through before your next shopping trip. Nothing added for comfort, nothing bought because of a per-unit deal. This matters because aspirational quantities are one of the quietest forms of waste there is. You buy the giant bag of lentils because you are planning to cook more. You buy the 12-pack of sparkling water because it is on offer. And then the lentils sit there for 8 months, and half the sparkling water goes flat in the garage. The money is spent and the space is taken. And you do not feel any more organized. You just feel like you are surrounded by potential you never quite got to. Lagom stock means buying closer to reality than to intention. It is a small shift, and it saves you more than you expect, in money, in space, and in the low-level mental weight of things you said you were going to use. Number 3 is köpa billigt är dyrt. This is the Swedish saying. It translates to buying cheap is expensive, and it is the one I think about the most, because when you really sit with it, it quietly rewrites the logic most of us use when we shop. Here is the situation it describes. You need a kitchen knife. There is one for $12 and one for $60. The $12 one seems obviously sensible. You are being responsible. You are not splurging. But the $12 knife is dull within a year. You replace it. And you replace that one. 4 years later, you have spent more than $60. You have thrown away 3 knives, and you still do not have a knife you actually like using. That is what the saying means. The cheap option is only cheap at the moment of purchase. Over time, it is the most expensive thing in the room. Swedes call this lagom quality, which is not luxury quality and not premium for the sake of it. It is enough quality to never need replacing. The thing that does its job so reliably that you stop thinking about it entirely. A good pan. A pair of boots that takes 3 years to break in and then lasts a decade. A plain white duvet cover that washes well and never pills. You buy it once, you stop buying it, and it fades into the background of your life in the best possible way. This is also where the real savings are, because the thing we almost never calculate is the cost of replacing cheap things repeatedly. The fast fashion jacket that loses its shape after a season. The cheap luggage that breaks a wheel on its second trip. When you add it all up, the math almost always favors the thing you buy once and keep. It does not mean always buy the expensive version. It means ask whether the cheaper version will actually hold up and be honest about the answer. Number 4 is tömma innan fylla, empty before refill. Finish what you have before you open something new. The shampoo bottle, the jar in the back of the pantry, the notebook with 40 pages left in it. This sounds almost too simple to count as a rule, but the problem it solves is real. There is a gray zone that builds up in most homes. Things that are not empty, but not quite current either. Just half-used and easy to forget about. You open a new bottle because it is closer, or because the old one is low and it feels sad to use. The old one gets pushed to the back. Eventually, you have 3 bottles of conditioner at various stages of half-empty, and none of them feel like they are actually yours to use. It is not negligence exactly, just the small friction of an almost finished bottle being less satisfying to use than a fresh one. Themma innan fylla closes that loop. When the old thing is gone before the new one opens, you always know exactly what you have. There is no gray zone. There is just the thing that is in use and the thing waiting for its turn. And that is a very calm way to live. Number 5 is one in, one out. Every item that comes into your home means one item leaving. Not as punishment, not as a strict system you have to manage carefully. More like a conversation you have with yourself about what you are actually making space for. When you are about to buy something new, and you know one thing has to leave, it changes the quality of the decision. You start thinking about what you would let go of to make room. Sometimes you realize the thing you were going to buy is not quite worth the trade. Sometimes you realize you have something at home that is already taking up space and is not earning its keep. Either way, it moves buying from a reflex into something a little more considered. It also keeps the equilibrium of your home stable over time, which sounds obvious but is actually rare. Homes tend to accumulate. Things come in, things rarely leave, and slowly the baseline just gets heavier. One in, one out interrupts that drift without requiring a dramatic declutter every few months. You stay on top of it quietly, item by item, rather than suddenly facing a spare room that has become a storage problem. Number 6 is the lagom space rule. Empty space is not a problem to solve. This one is harder than it sounds, because we have been taught to see an empty shelf as something waiting to be filled. A corner with nothing in it feels like wasted potential. A room that is not maximally arranged feels somehow unfinished. But in a lagom home, space is part of the design. It is where your eyes rest. It is what lets you actually see and appreciate the things that are there. When every surface is covered, nothing stands out. Nothing gets to be the thing you notice, and everything just becomes texture, a visual hum you stop registering after a while. When you leave some things empty, the things that are there get to breathe. The one plant on the windowsill, the few books you are actually reading, the bowl by the door where you put your keys. They each have room to exist, and that makes the home feel quieter and more yours, even if there is technically less in it. 6 rules, one idea beneath all of them, that a calmer life is not about having more willpower over spending, but simply about asking what is actually enough and letting that be fine. If calm Nordic living sounds like your kind of thing, subscribe. There is more here every week.